or your stomach, whichever you like. And have your head turned whichever way is comfortable. So let's explore one of these aspects, what seems like a very simple movement, but actually it's quite hard for people to find a way to do it comfortably. And that's bending the knee in this position. Did you get a little cramp in your hams or the small of your back, see? Okay. So let's watch Sue just bend this knee up. Well, bend the knee so the foot comes up more accurately. So this is a movement of flexion. Slowly lower it down. And lift it up again. And whether she feels it or not, you can see that, you know, there is an influence of that lift throughout all of her, right? Is it, if you can't see it, pretend that you can see it. So you're going to work with somebody like this. So this movement is familiar to you, and just watch the way your partner lifts and lowers. And what am I watching for? All sorts of things. You know, I've looked at Sue in her entirety first, so it's the whole thing first, and then I can start zoning in on the details. And some of the details might be that I'm really wanting to bring to the foreground is the quality of movement. So what's the timing of her movement going up? And you can see there's sort of, you know, there's smooth patches, and then there's, yeah. And just do it one more time and see what she thinks is 90 degrees. And then you start broadening the details, you know, what's happening in her pelvis and what 90 degrees means to her. And then the return journey. So we're always equally as interested in the return journey. What's the smoothness like? And, you know, is the foot, we're looking at the alignment as well. So does it wobble that way? You know, there's what Sue feels is a jerk coming this way in the flexion, but is there a wobble that way? Not a lot with Sue, actually. Some people you'll see a real wobble. But where is it in relation to, say, her hip joint? Then rest. Okay, so there's a lot to see. So you're just seeing all that stuff. And you're trying to see without making too many, don't go diagnostic. I used that word last week, which confused people a bit. When I say diagnostic, a diagnosis is where you see a set of occurrences and you coalesce them into, well, actually a problem, but what one single name, and with there might be implied a cause there or not. We're not going into that. We're not going into the, Sue's wobbling because blah, 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 blah. We're just saying, here's where it's smooth, here's where it's not smooth. You're not going into the why or putting it together into some kind of condition. You leave, you know, the seeing's the seeing. Leave the seeing as the seeing, and not into the judging, into the thinking. You just see it, right? It's really hard to do. It's easy to say, really hard to do. Okay, so then, and this is the contrast. So last time that you worked in a partnership, you were going along for the ride. So you as the person sitting, you were passive. You know, you tried to make yourself passive. Now, you couldn't be truly passive. You had to be active to follow. But the intention was that you weren't directing the movement. You were not in control. You were following. You were simply the passenger. And you organized yourself in a way that you could be carried. In this contrast now, the person lying down is the passenger and you are the driver. So you're going to find a way. Now, conveniently for most people, there is a gap between here. Some people not, because they're rotated, you know, and this part's lying. So that's something else that you'll notice. What's the orientation of her leg? So she's already oriented her leg ready to bend. If she was lying like that, then you would have to actually make a little adjustment because she's more committed to rotated outwards than inwards. Sue has very kindly started in that kind of equipoise. She's neither rotated in nor out. She's Switzerland, okay? So my hand can find a place there, and don't settle for the first spot. Make a contact. And so all I'm going to do is lift your lower leg. Okay, so, you know, but she can already feel that because she can feel the intention of my hand, because I'm making little kind of sorties around where's the best place. Now, if I lift there, there'll be something else happening in her ankle that she'll see how I lift her knee and her ankle flexes. So let's say I'm not interested in her getting that double whammy of movement. I want to find a place where I can lift so that she gets the sense that it's her whole lower leg, foot and shin, that's being lifted. And try the difference so that she's not distracted by the movement of her ankle. She just gets a sense of the piece. Now, that's almost impossible to do, but so there, I've got it. All right, up to a point. If I lift here, she'll just feel, see, now she'll feel that movement. Can you see what I'm talking about? So now there's the first thing that the foot plantar flexes more and then the knee flexes. If I lift from here, I just dumped her, that wasn't very nice. She'll feel the foot dorsiflexing and the knee flexing. There's somewhere in between where I can have both her foot and her shin in my hand. So they're all different. They're not right or wrong sensations. They're all different. What I'm asking you to do is to appreciate the difference. So they're all different messages. Her experience will be three quite distinct experiences, whether she knows that or not. That's what her system will experience, has the opportunity to experience. So I'm going to lift, and I'm going to lift with one hand. I think I said this to a few people last time. People were experimenting with having two hands on. If you've got two hands on somebody, you have to be extremely skilled that your two hands are saying something that's congruent. So you really need to know what you're doing, which means your personal organisation has to be totally spot on. Otherwise, you could be giving cross-motivational kind of method where one hand can be saying lift and the other one, if the timing and the orientation isn't congruent, can be saying twist. Now, sometimes you want that, but you have to be able to divide your attention between your two hands. So I would really encourage you to be a bit aware of that bilateral, two hands together, get your shit together. Otherwise, you can be doing two things and they'll be going, I don't know which one you want me to do, right? If you're that sophisticated, great. So I could have two hands, one on the foot and one on the shin like this, but then they need to be timed perfectly so that she doesn't get that sense and that sense, right? They need to, you may want that, but know what you're doing in order to get what you want. Okay, so if I'm going to use two hands, they need, and I want her to get the sense of her whole leg, then they need to be perfectly coordinated. And we're lateralized, you know, getting my left hand to be as good as my right hand is quite an art form. So I'm right hand dominant. I remember when I started at uni, we had a massage teacher. She could massage equally with her right hand as her left hand because, and that's really rare, because her father was a baker and she had to learn to roll bread rolls two at a time, and they had to come out equally. So she got that really early feedback about not being dominant. So she was her hands, oh, she's still going. She's this great Scottish woman who still teaches Scottish dancing in her 90s and is on radio, and her hands were just sensational. Anyway, back to you, Sue. So I'm going to lift with this kind of conceit that I don't want her to be distracted by her ankle joint. And then I'm going to lift and I'm going to make contact and then find where that is. So that's little tiny lifts. She gets a sense of her foot leaving the ground. And what I'm feeling is, where is it easy or not for her to go? Now, her leg is quite heavy here, and you've got to interpret what heavy means, what the heavity thing is, now that we've enshrined that word into the lexicon. So her leg could feel really heavy because she's pushing against me, or it could feel really heavy because she's completely let go and I've got the full weight of her leg. If her leg feels light, it's probably not because she's lost weight. It's probably because she's doing the work for me. And so you're going to play this game of where does her leg feel heavier and lighter? Where is she helping you and where is she not helping you? Where is she sort of organized to go or not organized? Now, interestingly, when someone gets more organized, they actually can feel lighter. And it's not that they're helping you, it's just they feel more organized. And I can, so every now and again, you can see her hamstrings and I can feel it. As I'm lowering, she's coming in to help me and her hamstrings are kind of, so I can see it with my eyes and I can feel it because I feel the weight of her leg in my hand changing. All right, now the lowering, this is where you have to, this is now mutual responsibility. You saw that there were some jerks going up and down. If there's, when you're going up, when you're lifting her up and down and there's jerks, that might very well be you. So then you start getting this, is this me or is this her? The answer is always, this is us. But it can be more her or more you. And that's where you need to be a little bit. You might want to try the other hand. You might want to go slower so that you're clear about, now what I'm feeling, is that me or is that her? Okay, yes. Symmetrical, yeah. Yes, it is all right. Yes, absolutely. And we'll use two hands a lot because we know what we're doing. Oh, you like this? Yeah, so I could hold it like this. However, I need to be clear that my hands are working together. Now, so if you feel that, and this is fine, and I encourage you to try it all. So if you get the impression that I said don't do it, that's not what I meant. I meant if you do it, know what you're doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay, good. So if you want to try one hand underneath each other so that you're distributing the work into two arms, it's fine. Again, know what you're doing and have the two coordinated together so that she doesn't get this feeling or this feeling, right? So it's more, so it's a compromise, right? You'll do it in order to, because you think, oh, that's easier for me because it distributes the lifting across two arms. That's true. Neurologically, it's harder because you've got to get the two arms working, right? So absolutely try it. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying know what you're doing. Know the difference. So just to be simple, I'm going to keep doing one hand. And you see that I'm not sitting up here and lifting her leg towards me because that's all my elbow flexing. Now, why would I get this little puny muscle to do the lift? I've got these thumping great big glutes in my bum and so forth to do the lifting for me. Now, we'll go through that a lot more, but just to know that this flexion extension movement is far more powerful for me to lift something than this. Here, in my back, they're bigger muscles. They're huge. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm big. I've got a big bum. Powerful, big, powerful bum. It is, absolutely, because it's doing according to its capacity. Yeah, mechanically, it is. This makes sense. So don't get too fussed about that, but there's a reason why you're doing all these ATMs, so that you can find your hip joints and use the power of your back, the power of your pelvis to rock. There's a lot more to be done about that. I was to get my hand, but I'm actually not taking weight there. No, because if I stayed there, I've now disappeared everything. So if it was touching, it was touching, but I wasn't leaning. I lean a lot when I can because I'm quite a lazy girl. The joke is my middle name is Eileen, but it's not. It's not. My middle name is not Eileen. So I'm coming down to her a little bit so that in order, when I straighten, her leg straightens. And now you can, and try the other way, like try bringing your hand towards you and she'll feel the difference. Sorry? Huge difference. So we're a system, right? The better I organize myself, the better she moves. And you go, what the? Like, what's my business got to do with her business? Well, that's how sensitive we are. Her experience of herself will be better if I pay attention to myself. How's that? If I take care of myself, I take care of her. That's the thing. Maybe the Buddha said that. Somebody wise said that. So did Feldenkrais. So, he's not the Buddha. I'm not saying that. Okay. Sorry. But we all are. Maybe. Okay. So, now here's where we have two systems and I have to attend to myself and attend to her. It's quite a responsibility, but don't forget she's got responsibility. She's not a passive, even though I've said she's passive. She's not. She's actively listening. And what conversation are we having? What's my hand saying? My hand is not saying, oh God, your leg is so heavy. Oh. If that's what my hand is saying, that's her experience. That's not nice and she won't pay you for it. Nobody pays you to have that experience. That's true. That's true. So can I lift her leg in a way that actually feels informative and interesting and that I'm really listening and I'm not judging and I'm going there and I'm going there. And because I'm not on a table, Helen, I am going to use two hands because I want her to get this sensation of lightness. And she's really processing heaps and there's all sorts of little flicky things happening and in her muscles that I can feel and she's helping and not helping because to let go is really hard, right? You really struggle. Everybody is, why do you think we're doing this? Everybody in the room is finding this movement interesting. So now she's actually doing most of the work. Yeah. Sometimes you'll say verbally, sometimes I'll make a joke of it and say, I won't charge you any less if you do all the work. And then they'll laugh. So I can get away with that because I'm rude. So sometimes I'll do it verbally. Sometimes just to let them know I'll do this a bit. And that's a bit of a shorthand for going, and then they'll realize, oh, oops, I'm helping. People very quickly start to realize that they're helping. Yeah, or I'll say, I've got a lot of clients and I'll just say, yeah, I know you, your mother's little helper. And you just can't help getting in the kitchen and helping your mother. Whatever it is. Whatever, you can make a joke about it verbally or you can, that's maybe the whole lesson, or you can trick them a bit. And if you go faster, they can't match you. And then they'll feel it because they might not know. So you'll change the timing. You might change the orientation or you'll go. But see, all of that is kind of, you've got to be careful because it comes across as a judgment. And my clients will go, oh, sorry, I can't help it. So they've already interpreted my feedback as a judgment, even though I didn't mean it. I was just saying, this is interesting, yeah, you're helping. So even if we don't go into judging, they can go into judging. So that's why I often do it in that light-hearted way. But that's fine, of course you want to help me, you're a kind person or whatever, you diffuse it somehow so that it's not a judgment. It's just simply, Sue, notice that here you are, that's really smooth as butter. In fact, it's more smooth now than it was before. And now there she helped me coming back down. Whereas there. Now, is that because she's got a pain somewhere or because she's protecting or, don't go there. That's diagnostic, doesn't matter. They can, you can talk about it afterwards. But that's what I'm looking for, but I'm feeling it. Now, what you feel is not what she's feeling. All you can feel is what you feel and sense. So if you start dumping your sensations on her and saying it's all her, you're incorrect. I can only interpret her through my interpretation of myself. So the better my interpretation of myself, the better I can interpret her. Right. Okay, so that's it. And you're going with this idea of where's quality, where's quality, where's quality? Where do I have to work harder, either myself or her? Around there, that's as far as I want to go. Can you be satisfied with that? Can you be satisfied with that? Now, other people will feel a tweaky thing in the small of their back. I would doubt that Sue does, but maybe I'm wrong. Do you ever feel a tweaky thing in your back when you bend your knees up? No. Do you want to lie down? Can I borrow you? Because you confessed to me. Do you want to hop up? Who gets a tweaky feeling in the small of their back when they bend their knees up? Yeah. So half a dozen of you, less. So we're shortening the hamstrings, and they bend the knee. So if Loretta bends her knee up, that's what's working, see? Right? Slowly, slowly, slowly. And what Loretta feels sometimes is that her back arches more, and she doesn't necessarily like that feeling because the front of her thigh is being lengthened, and that pulls her pelvis. And it should. I mean, the pelvis should move when you bend your neck because the hamstrings are attached to the pelvis. They cross the hip joint as well. They actually extend the pelvis. So this is about, if I just want my hamstrings to bend my knee and not extend my pelvis and my hip joint, something in the front of me has to keep my pelvis somewhat still. So that, I'm getting way too detailed, but just the take-home message is the pelvis has to be involved. It has to be. You know, I could say the head has to be involved too, but go again. So what would be really nice for Loretta to feel? Yep, and slowly lower. So it's the hamstrings that are lowering as well. So in this instance, they are allowing the knee to extend. You can see them working. They're not too jerky. I'm just doing that because. And then so now they've let go. See? And then they've let go, right? You need proof of your experience that that's that. So let's do the same thing with Loretta. So she's already helped me. All right? As soon as I put my hand there, she is a very, very kind person. And she's already increased the space under her ankle so that I can get my hand there. And I say, thank you very much. That's really kind of you. The bill will still be the same. That doesn't matter. You know, whatever. If you can't use my strategies, you know, you got to, well, you can try. You can recycle them and see how you go. That's pretty cheeky. Anyway, so now I've just waited for Loretta to get used to my hand. I've just waited and waited until now I've got the hevity. Right? She's given up this idea of being kind. Or, you know, I'll say to people, I'm stronger than I look. You know, I don't need your help, but thanks. Thanks anyway, but I am stronger than I look. So again, I'm bringing my center down. I'm thinking where I want to go is back to here to lift. So I've come ready for that. And I'm going to, now, as soon as she's listening, listening, listening. I'm going so slowly, it's really hard for her to imagine. So what may be nice for Loretta is to feel that her knee can bend and what's happening in the small of her back may or may not have to happen. All right. So I'm going slowly, slowly. There, you can just see she wanted to help a little bit. And because I'm going to go slowly, I'm just going to wait. So I will bring two hands in. And then I'm going to come back down and I'll feel her hevity as I'm coming back down, and where she can, there that's hard for her to lengthen there. So now her hamstrings are lengthening, and they're trying hard to lengthen. Well, I brought her back up because she wasn't coming with me anymore, right? So I came back to meet her because I'd gone too fast for her system. And so there, where she's holding her leg for me, I can jiggle a little bit or something. So long as she doesn't feel that as a judgment, I can just wait for her to be able to feel that my hand can come down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you could see it a little bit because the muscles were jumping a little bit. So, you know, keep adjusting your position. Don't think that, you know, just because the first position was the best. So again, as soon as she felt my fingers closing around her ankle, she started to help a little tiny bit. So I can just go, okay, sure, help me. And then I'll just wait, and she'll get bored and she'll go off and do a shopping list in her head. And while she's doing a shopping list, then I can quietly go, and I'm going so slowly. Now I'm also broadening my, so here's a detail, here's a detail, here's a detail, and I've got a detail up there. So can you see why the visual lessons are so important? Is that I can hear, my eyes are free to go long and short all the time. And or I can look here, but my peripheral vision can pick up what's happening in the small of her back. Because if she doesn't like what I'm doing, you know, she'll hold her breath, and that nice little movement in the small of her back might stop. But while that's happening, you know, I can keep going. And she's like, this is confusing for her. You can see I can feel the confusion. Now I'm going into judgment, which is not what I meant to do. The quality changes. That's all you need to know. The quality changes. The quality changes. And then we can come back down. The quality coming back down, I had Hevity almost all the way. So the quality coming back down changed because who cares? I don't want to be diagnostic. It just did. That's all I'm going. I'm just staying with quality. All right. Okay. So Loretta's legs are different to Sue's, if I may say the bleeding obvious, right? Her alignment is different, and it might be different here versus, you know, another situation. So you just notice the difference. I've still got a little bit of way to slide in there. And so let me recap what you're going to test for yourself, what the hand on the shin versus the hand on the foot versus somewhere in between. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So with Sue, remember I said the alignment of her leg was already like that. So can you see with Loretta, if I go with her pattern of her hips being slightly internally rotated, if I bent her knee in the plane of where her leg is aligned, it would be going that way. Can you see that? So if I want her to get the sense of just of the middle of the hip joint being in the middle of rotation and then flexing the knee, which is the, you know, mechanically what's nice for the hamstrings, I had to do a small other movement. Right, so I'll just check it, that. Okay, so you could try both as well. Flex their knee in the plane that they're in, the rotational plane that they're in, and then go for this other one, which is an interesting plane. Now, and what I'm not saying is that this is wrong, because this is her position of repose. This is comfortable for her, and I asked her to lie comfortably on her front. So this shouldn't feel like a correction. It should feel like this is just an interesting place to feel knee flexion. Now, actually, can you see? You know how I had to organize myself a lot to lift her leg up because of the Hevity? She's changed her organization, that her leg is really light now, but it's not because she's helping me more, she's just more organized. You can see it. You can see, I feel less effort in me in response to what she's doing. Now, what that means for her, I don't know. Bend your knee by yourself. Maybe it's changed, maybe it hasn't. What's your internal experience, Loretta? Can you say, or if you can't say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We discussed this. Where's Philippa? You know, going into language can be really a nightmare after these somatic experiences. Yeah. That was the piece that she didn't know about. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what she'd feel. she noticed that doing that preparation movement, finding the equipoising position first, makes a difference to her lift. Does your lower back feel different? Yeah. If we get into curative mode, it's a nightmare. But, you know, yeah. Yep. 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 You might, yeah. You might set up a little reference movement at the beginning of the lesson and check it at the end. Absolutely. You have to be somewhat confident of what's going to change, but you might. Sometimes we'll just do, this might be it, that I'll do this for Loretta and I'll do this for Loretta, and whether I direct her attention to it or not, her system has felt the difference. Then I'll go and do all the magical business and come back and this will feel different or whatever. So yeah, we do set up contrast, but you're so smart. You're just taking me into full on FI, which we don't want to do. All I want, the thing to feel for sure amongst all of that detail, the one that I want foreground is the feeling that you are now part of it and you are actually initiating the movement all the time, listening. Yeah, responding, listening, but it's very clearly you that started the movement, whereas the side-lying thing, very clearly them that's doing the movement. So I really want you to feel the shift of, now here's the thing, is it a shift of power, not in an authoritative way. It's a mutually acceptable shift. And that's where the dance thing comes in. So who's leading and who's following? When two dancers are dancing together, you can't tell, right? You can't tell necessarily. So it's the same here, is when you're watching us give FI, who's listening to who and who's directing? It's kind of that power shift, if you like, is seamless and it's mutually satisfactory because the feedback loop is so close. Absolutely, yeah. But it's not, you don't dissolve into them. Where's Anna? She's not here today. You know, that sort of idea of you taking on their problems, you're not, right? Her hamstrings, they're her hamstrings. I'm interested in them, I like them, but they're not mine. You know, they're hers. Because I stop here and she starts there. So, but you know, I'm jumping into about 5 segments time. Yes, listening with my hand. So I can talk with my hand and I can listen with my hand. And that's, if you can get, yeah, if I'm going for the right, I am purely listening as much as I can, 99% listening. If I'm driving this, then I'm clearly saying something. Now, what am I saying? It would be nice if she felt that it was a question, because a question isn't judging. If I say, you know, this, that's a statement. Yeah, yeah. You don't want to say that. Yeah. But we'll go into that later. That's another refinement. We'll come back to the kind of the foreground thing is, how can I lift her leg in a way where it's clear I am lifting her leg and we are a system and we're listening to each other through our bodies. Right? That's it. And I'm with this idea of quality. Thank you very much, both of you. So there's this tacit agreement here that you're happy for things to be demoed on you. And if we put you on the spot and say, would you lie down, please? And you go, look, I'm really feeling tweaky today. You can say no. And then we'll say, tough shit, lie down. No, we won't say that at all. We'll just go, fine. Yeah. Oh. You can do. Yeah. Yeah. Stop thinking. Yeah. 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 It's a great observation. So see how important it is that we're aware of when we're sensing, when we're thinking, when we're feeling, and when we're doing. Because most of the time the four are all mushed up and we're just doing the whole lot, or one's dominant, and they start interfering with each other sometimes, not always. And you will sense when you are moving with somebody, when their thoughts are interfering. So you can say, you know, so sometimes when you're jiggling like this, it's basically what you're saying is just shut up. Go quiet in your head, you know. Yeah. 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 Right, because we know we're playing with the thoughts and the sensing and the feeling all the time. So you can move around between them and use them to juxtapose. Sorry, I interrupted.
So,
Oh yeah, good on you. Narayan flies in.
I think, I don't know what you think about whether I wouldn't be able to remember it if I didn't remember it with my mind as opposed to my body. So if I convinced myself that my body might remember if I didn't think about it, then I could stop thinking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, look, and that's really important, and part of this trusting your memory.
I don't know. So
Trusting your memory is important, and how we remember things. And Zoran will talk a lot more about this, hopefully. I've put it down on the list for him to talk about next segment. Whether he complies or not, I don't know. Is memory. Like, memory is encoded in different senses. So you can encode it in language if you want to, and that's what we think might be the thing, and that's what the writing thing is so pervasive for some people, because we want to remember it in language and in thoughts, not necessarily the same thing. However, we have somatic memory, we have verbal memory, we have visual memory, we have auditory memory. We encode in the senses. We can encode in all of them, which is a really rich memory. Or we can encode in one. But, you know, when people talk about this muscle memory, the memory is not in the muscle, it's in the sensation of the movement, the memory of the sensation of the movement. Right? But we remember the movement, and it's actually very robust, but we don't use it a lot. That somatic means body, yeah. So that body kind of memory, you know, whether it's a tactile part of the body memory, you know, sense, or the proprioceptive sense, or the other senses we talk about. But we often don't trust that memory, but it's real. Well, it's real as a memory is. A real memory is bullshit. You know, it's just a story. But yeah, do you trust it? It's really interesting. Do you? Do you? That's the question. And can you learn to? Because that's what he's actually asking people to do in Amherst. Trust your somatic memory and your auditory memory, because you're hearing it, and your visual memory because you're seeing other people doing it, and so forth. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that tells us a lot about your visual, if you want to be watching yourself. I don't say you are exclusively visual, but you know, yeah. Okay. You are all so interesting, and your questions are so interesting.
When you have an empire, you hear as a human being experiencing that needs. But you also hear as a student teacher thinking about what are they doing? Should I do that? And there'll be lots of ways.
yeah. That's right there.
add like a little story.
Yes.
About the
Once upon a time.
sensory
Yep.
memory.
Yep.
My father is 76
Mm.
and he's got Alzheimer's.
Yep.
And he also has had like a crushed sciatic nerve for 30 years or something,
Mm.
and kind of ankle injuries and knee injuries. And one leg is just wasted, the
Mm.
muscular,
Mm.
just completely atrophied. And so he kind of walks like, you know, and he's, I introduced him to Feldenkrais a few years ago. It's made a difference for him, but still he's really constrained in all of his movements. He's like this
Yep.
as well. When he was younger, his father was a butcher. And so he'd work in the butcher shop and would get involved in all the things. There was maybe a year ago or something, we're sitting in the lounge room and talking about stuff. And he was telling me about the butcher shop. And then he started to demonstrate making the sausages, where the sausages come out of the machine. And I can't do it.
Yeah.
But
It's skilled.
it's really skilled,
Yeah.
precise
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen him move like that ever.
Yeah.
You know?
Fantastic.
And it was
Yeah.
amazing that
Yeah.
in going back
Yeah.
in memory,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's something
The organisation's still
he never
there.
has,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yeah. That is a great story.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not much of a runner. I like walking. But when I go to my mum's house, I always run up the stairs 2 by 2.
Really?
Like just, yeah. It's just because I did that as a kid.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So, like, at other
Yeah.
stairs, I won't do it.
Yeah.
I hope I should show it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, you were tapping into that with all these rolling things. You know, sometimes you just go, oh, this all of a sudden the movement smooths out and you get this beautiful sense of rolling. What's in there? You know, it's in there. It's in this encoded somehow or other. Sometimes a bit perverted or not, but it's learning to trust it is really hard. I mean, my story about this is, you know, my memory of my training is that I was almost never there. I did a lot of shopping, I saw a lot of movies, and that I wasn't there a lot. So that's why I cunningly organised to have a training in Adelaide, because I wanted to do it again, because my memory was that I just wasn't there. So I wanted to do it again and do it properly this time. When I started lying on the floor with the Adelaide training, I'm looking at you because it's Jan's mob, most of those lessons were in there. You know, they were in there. And I didn't know they were there. And I go, oh, yeah, I remember this. Oh, I remember this. And yeah, I thought maybe I didn't shop as much as I thought I did. You know, so I didn't know they were even there to trust that they were there. And then when I started teaching in training programs and going into the lessons even more, they were even more in there. And so these little memory traces that were just ghosts in the system are really apparent to me now. Totally. Whatever. Whatever.
It's something I've been experimenting with,
Yeah.
because when you start to do this practice, you get these capacities where you go, I can learn really quickly.
Yeah.
And you go, I want to learn this and I want to learn that.
Yeah.
But it takes you away from actually the patterns and behaviors that you've been grounded in. And for me, I found that was challenging because I actually damaged myself in some ways from trying to learn new habits that displaced old ones.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder about the value in actually, you know, we learn things in our childhood that are like our strength, the thing that we were best at. It might be rolling on the ground or,
Yeah.
you know, and so, or it might be playing netball, or I don't know what.
Or sucking.
Sucking, right?
Or looking.
There you go. So that's what
Or
we're
lifting
doing.
your head up.
Right.
Or whatever. Yeah.
But so going back to the things that we know best and then using them
Foundational.
as the foundation. Yeah.
So that you can build on it. And it's the idea that we don't want to. Yeah, we're learning from a position where we have known things, and then we're adapting them and changing them and transforming them. But it's not about, geez, that's a bad habit, Loretta. You've really got to stop doing that and learn something new. It's not that. It's about, this is what you do. This is what you could do, which is not a contradiction, but a growth or, you know, something that's congruent, so you don't feel like you're wrenched into, I've got to be a better person. Like I'm bad, I've got to stop being bad, and I've got to be good. It's about, actually, I'm fundamentally good. How can I be better? That's the thing. That's right. That's right.
So I'm wondering whether there's no need to say without judgment. If we're all doing it, so we know it,
Yeah.
it's without judgment.
Yes.
It doesn't have to say that anymore.
Okay.
It's not,
All right.
there's no judgment.
Just like I don't have to ever say again, don't hold your breath.
No, that's not the same thing.
Well, it is. It is. Because the judging is so habitual, Julie. Like, you might be able to suspend it, but I'm sorry. Look, you know, I love you all dearly already, but but if you can suspend your judging without me reminding you, or not hold your breath without me reminding you, my job is done. And I don't think it is.
Well, I think they can
Judging is going into the diagnostics. That's all I'll say. It's about cause and effect, and I'm the expert, and I'm going to know. Yeah. Now, of course, you've asked me so many questions. We're meant to finish at 12:30, and it's your fault that lunch is 15 minutes later than I wanted. Pardon? Pardon? You're the raider. Oh, the rider. Oh. You're cheeky. So let's have lunch. We'll come back and do that. Because if we delay lunch any longer, then it will be my fault.